Welcome to this tutorial for 911 Operator. Now, this tutorial will cover how to code a simple conversation for 911 Operator. It will not include how to add audio for it. It will include a basic multiple path system, but this is just the very groundworks. So what you're going to need for this is a notepad. The default notepad that comes when I type in notepad down here, this hideous blue thing, is fine. I do recommend Notepad++ though. You're also going to want to load your file browser. Go to this PC. Right, what you're doing here, I should say, is... Oh, I'm going to blur out my email. Is you are finding all... You are finding the location where you installed the game on Steam. So, if you didn't install it on my PC C drive, this isn't the instructions for you, but wherever you installed it, you're going there. So I'm going into Program Files, 86, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, 911 Operator, 911_data, and then into Streaming Assets, and there should be a folder called Custom Calls. You should also have calls, custom maps, and languages. You will not have custom languages or custom scenarios. These are not a thing. These are just me screwing around, okay? Don't do them. They don't work. It's just me playing, trying to make some stuff work that hasn't been supported yet. So you want to go into Custom Calls. Here, you're going to want to create a new folder and choose the name of your call. Now, for me, it's going to be SOO3. Simply because all of the ones by Soharic Media Group start SO. Soharic. It's just my identifier. And 03 because I've already released 01 and am in the process of 02 on a different machine, which is why you don't see it here. So SO03. Hit enter on that and we are good to go. Right, this folder here in SO03, I'm just going to copy the location of that. That is where I will want to save this new file. Now, I'm going to want to do save as. And I want to make sure that I select .xml. Oh, there it is. I saw it. It's right down at the bottom of the list here. It's called Extensible Markup Language File, which has a ton of things next to it. So when you select it, make sure that you type .xml after. Right, so what you name the file is exactly what you just named the folder, and then make sure you add .xml on the end. Now I'm going to go back. Because I'm already in my custom calls folder, but you just need to navigate to it again. As you can see, that's exactly the same navigation tree we did a minute ago. Click SO03, click Save. Right, so now we're going to get to the code. So the first thing you want to do is you want to do the greater than symbol, or less than, depending which way you're looking at it, data, and do the same again. No, not data, because I'm not American. Apologies if you're American, but I'm going to say data, and it will probably drive you around the bend. Then you do exactly the same, but with conversations. Again, closing it. And now start conversation. So, singular, it doesn't have the S on the end. Spelling is imperative. If you spell any one of these codes wrong, you will break it somewhere along the line, okay? You have to spell all of these things correctly. You can only make spelling mistakes with stuff that's inside quotation marks, because that is user-defined data, that's not the code. But then it will appear as a spelling mistake in the game, and you don't want that. Right, the next thing we want is element properties. I don't know if the P has to be capitalized, but I do because that's how all the examples were. And then you do equals, quotation mark, type equals. I said you can mistake spell things in quotation marks. You can't make a mistake on this one, because this is still defined by the game, and not a user-made property. Don't screw this up. Type equals generable... Right, now, there are two different types. There's generable and there's generable once. I don't know the difference, so I'm just going to use generable once. It may be it only comes up once per shift at the most, which I'm fine with, because repeat calls, that's the whole point we're making extra calls, right? So then we close the quotation marks, pop in a space, and we give it an ID. Now, the ID is what it will load up as in-game. Give it the same as the file, give it the same as the folder. Just call it SO03. or whatever yours is. Please don't use SO03 because I'm using it, and if you use it and you have two with the same name, it's going to screw things up. So close those quotation marks, press another space, and type in text10. TEXTEN equals quotation marks. Now this is where you're going to give it a name. Now, I honestly haven't thought of anything for this, so we're going to go with... I want to do a report of a gunshot. So someone's heard a gunshot go off, because this is one that someone's requested on the Steam Workshop, so I may as well do it while demonstrating it. So I want to do report of gunshot. It's quite a long-winded name, so I'm just going to call it gunshot. Now, this file... closing quotation marks afterwards. This name, gunshot, can be used in other calls. It can be repeated. You cannot use the ID for another call, but you can use the text10, which is just the name it says in-game for another call. Alright, pop in another space, and in capital letters type comment equals quotation marks again, and in capital letters recorded. I don't know if it has to be capital, but just do it anyway, because it ain't that much of a pain, and you know it's right. Right, now do the other end of that greater than, less than symbol. Hit enter, and then press tab. You don't have to press tab, it just helps keep things nice and organised if you do them in layers. So just pop in tab and you know it's a layer. Right, so now we want to do our scene. So we're going to start the scene. That's it. Pressing tab again for a new layer. Right, so we're going to have a witness, because that's the person who's called up reporting they've heard a gunshot. We call them a witness. Now, you call people specific things. So you've got a witness, you've got a criminal, and you've got injuried. So if anyone's injured, they are... I'm just going to type it in before I delete it again. They are injuried. I think these are specific things you have to stick to, with the witness being someone not involved, the injuried being someone injured, and the criminal being the criminal. I think they are 3 specific things you have to stick to. You can find more information in the online Google Doc spreadsheet that the developers have made. Trawling through that can be difficult, which is why I'm making this. They made a way of exporting from a Google Docs spreadsheet to the XML file. I tried it once, it partially worked, but I had to edit the code so much that it's just easier this way. Now, kudos for them trying, and it was really early in their stage of development and stuff. They have now made a call editor, game editor thing, which is manageable. I just prefer writing the code, and I think you'll all find it easier as well. Right, so for witness, we again want to give them element properties. Now, the great thing with Notepad++ is that I've typed in ELEM, yep. And it's already suggesting something that it knows I've used with elim, which at the moment is only element properties. So I just hit enter and it fills the rest of it out. I don't have to type the whole thing. Right, so now I want equals, quotation marks, sex equals. So this is specifying their gender. Now, M is male, F is female. Because this is the person doing the call. So this is the person who I will need to get a voice for when I further show you how to add voices in. So I'm going to go for female on a brave hope that one of my 2 female actors is willing to do it. Now, before you close the quotation marks on this one, you put a semicolon and then you close the quotation marks, okay? So then you do space. Now, if they're blocked by someone, you type in blocked by. So this is if... say it's a hostage situation, you have the caller is being held under duress and the hostile will not let them go. You will do equals, quotation marks, and then give the ID of the hostile. Now, the ID is the next thing we specify after blocked by. I'm not going to do a blocked by here. You can also have them being blocked by things like fire, damaged vehicles, and so on. So you can have them blocked by objects as well as blocked by people, which is really cool. That's how you get where, before you can send a medic to someone, you have to send a technical fire team to remove their car so that they can then be gotten out of the car, be removed from the car. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it simple for this one. So we're going to have ID equals quotation marks. Now, for the person calling, I always use the ID caller. I think you can use any, but I would recommend always using the ID caller because there's only one person calling, so it's absolutely fine with using the ID caller. So Texton. So you've done caller, you've closed the quotation, then you've got Texton again, which this is what it displays in game. So I'm just going to capitalize it and put caller. I'm going to do a close the quotation, slash, less than, greater than, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to do a backspace. Ooh, no, I'm not. I'm going to leave it there because I want to add another person in. I'm going to add someone who's received an extremely extensive gunshot wound. So I'm going to put them with 20% health. That is extremely serious. They are going to be in extremely critical condition for your ambulance crews. I know how to speak. So I'm going to call them, as we discussed earlier, injuried. So injuried. Now we go element properties equals. Now this is why you put quotation marks in the element properties but not in any others. Is so you can do this. You put HP equals, I said 20. It's out of 100, so 20 is 20%. Semicolon. Sex equals. I lied. I apologize. Sex is not M and F. It is M and W. It's male. No. It's men and women, not men, male and female. It's men and women, so it's W. So I'm just correcting that previous one to W. That's my mistake. I'm going to have the injured being. I'm going to have them being a woman. They don't have to talk. It doesn't matter what gender they are as far as I'm concerned. Now, something else you can put is type. Now, a type I know you can specify is white. So you can specify them as this game is, a white American, but just a white person in general. You can specify other genders? Other races. I know what I mean. It's been a long day, guys. You can specify them as other races as well. I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to specify them as type equals white. That's just so you know you can. Again, check out the developer's Google Doc to see that. You could have them blocked by someone again. I'm not going to have them blocked. I'm just going to have ID equals victim. I would personally do it so that if you have multiple victims, you have ID equals victim 2, victim 3, victim 4, and so on. And then we're going to have Texton. Now, what do I want to call this injured person? So I'm actually just going to call them victim because I don't want to give them any special role or anything. So like they're not a store owner kind of thing. They're just the victim as far as I'm concerned for this. So then closing it. All right. And of course, if there's a victim, I need a criminal. Now I'm just going to have the one. I'm going to do element properties again. Again, hitting that enter because it's so much quicker. Right, again, this is where you need semicolon, because this guy has a load of element properties you can give him. You can reduce his health if you want. I'm not going to, because he has a gun, I think. So I'm going to give him a gun. So, the first thing we're going to specify is fight risk. Now, this is what everybody is complaining about being way too high for so many things. Now, this guy, I think he's in two minds. I'm visualizing this as being a male. I'm visualizing him as being... He's done this crime, and he regrets doing it, so I'm actually going to put his fight risk as 0. I'm going to give him no fight risk at all. This guy will not fight back. Now, for most of the game's ones, is like up at 0.8 or something. It feels more like 0.95. It feels like there is always a fight going on. But this guy, I'm just going to give him fight risk of 0, because I don't want him fighting back. I think he feels bad for what he's done, so... We're gonna have a peaceful resolution here. For the first time in 911 Operator, you are seeing a peaceful resolution. So we're gonna put a semicolon. And the next thing, if you want to give him a weapon, which he has just shot someone, I'm imagining, so I'm gonna give him weapon equals, and then you do E_pistol. Now, just so you know, you can also do E_bat if you want them to have a bat. I believe E_knife is the one for a knife. Based on the fact that the game physically has, for police officers, a rifle and a shotgun, I imagine you can do rifle and shotgun, but rifle and shotgun I have not confirmed. Bat, knife, and pistol I have and I know are official because they're in the Google Docs spreadsheet. So after that, we're just going to punch colon again, and then another space. Now I'm going to specify their sex. I'm going to specify them as male, not with a plus, but with an equals. And again, I could specify type. I don't want to. I don't think I need to, so I'm not going to. So after that, I am going to close the quotation marks and do a space. Then we give him an ID like last time. This time I'm just going to call him the shooter, because he is the shooter. I don't need to specify him anymore, I don't think. ID I always lowercase, and text 10 I always capitalize. Because that's what you see in game, and having capital letters is nice. It pleases me very much. Now I'm going to do a backspace, and I'm going to close my scene. Now, I know how to close a scene. You do scene, and then you do the close. Okay? I'm going to stay on that level. Stay on that level, because I'm going to start dialogue in a minute. Now, if you had a fire, for example, so if someone was blocked by fire, you would add that here. So under witness, injured, criminal, you would go fire. And then you would give it element properties. So in its element properties, you can have work. Now this is the amount of work it takes to resolve the issue. So if you have a fire and your work is 10, I believe that means it will take 10 units of in-game time to put the fire out. If it is 300, it's going to take 300 units. So the amount of work you give it is how difficult it is. So for example, I'll give it 150, which means that this fire in real life would take 2.5 minutes to put out. So 150, I believe, resembles 150 seconds. Except it doesn't, because next thing you specify is work change. Now, my understanding of this is if I put work change equals 2, is that for every in-game second, or minute, I can't remember how the in-game time works, but for every in-game unit of time, the work decreases by 2. So this means instead of taking 2.5 minutes, whatever the in-game time is, it now takes 1 3/4. I think that's 2.5 halved, is it? 1, add a quarter. No, it takes 1 1/4. I know how to half 2.5. It's 1 1/4. It's not like I do maths and accounting. So I believe that's how it works. But then you specify is active equals either false or true. Now, I don't know exactly what this does, so specify it as false, unless you know what you're doing. It probably says in the Google Docs spreadsheet, but I haven't made one with a fire yet, so I haven't looked into it. You would also then specify ID equals something like fire, and I think that's it. Now, I'm just going to delete that, because as I said, I don't want a fire, but that's just how you do it if you wanted to know. The next thing you do is you open up Dialog. Okay? Now, in this, you don't need anything. Just close it and hit enter. Now, we're going to do another tab because we're on kind of a new level again. And so we have Dialog option. Is your next piece of text. Oh, you do, however, open it with one of these symbols. Notepad++ is good because, as you saw there, if I didn't open it, it's black. Now, when I have opened it, it's blue. So I can tell that the code is working properly because all of these things in the brackety things, all of the main primary codes are blue. Things like element properties, ID, etc. are red, and things within the quotation marks are purple. Now, if you have any color blindness, I could see the purple being very similar to the blue because I struggled to tell the difference too. But there is a difference, so if you can tell the difference, great. If you can't, well, if it just looks vaguely like the blue, you know it's correct because it's in the correct place, so it's not going to be blue. Because if you mess up one bit of code, so if I delete that, okay, that's not actually messing it up too bad. If I delete that as well, then see, it changes this bracket here to black, it changes this scene to red, it doesn't know what's going on. So it does show you it's kind of coloured as to what's going on, so it's really easy to understand. Right, going back to the dialogue option, the first thing you want is to give it an ID. Now, you can give it an ID like caller 1 or opening or something. I just like to give mine numbers. I like numbers, they work. So I'm going to give it I'm going to give it the ID 1. Okay, now we have the operator. Now, your call is always going to be answered by you. You are going to be the first person speaking before the caller. Unless you make it different. You could make it different. You could have the caller start yelling down the mic straight away. Help me! Oh my goodness, it's gone so wrong! Somebody's died! But I'm going to stick to the traditional. The operator talks first. So you have two people. You have the operator and the caller. So I'm going to have the operator talking first, which means I'm going to have operator. And then, this is important, I think. You put a colon. I don't know what the colon does. It just annoys me, but I put it because that's how it's all example. And then you do space, and then you do your lovely text that you're getting so familiar with. Now this is what you want them to say. So this is where it would usually say 911, what's your emergency? I don't really want it to say that. I like being original. I quite like just having police emergency, to be honest. Because that is how some in the UK, in my country, that is how some of them answer it. So I quite like just police emergency. Forgive my bad typing there. Now, here you will type default equals. Now this is where you want it to go next. So within these quotation marks I've just made, you want to specify the next ID. So I've given this line ID 1. The next line I will give ID 2, and that's what I want to play after this. So I'm going to specify it as default equals 2 within quotation marks. Now you can give it up to, I believe, 2 other options. So you can give it option 2 equals, and then put quotation marks, and option 3 equals, and put quotation marks. Or, this is the listing. So when you have options in your calls, you get a list of options to choose from. The default is at the top, option 2 is next, and option 3 is next. So option 2 will be at the top. Default, which is ID 2, will be at the top. Then you'll have option 2, which might be ID 3, and option 3, which might be ID 4, underneath it. Now, I don't want them to have an option for this. I just want them to... Because you only really want the option to be for your caller, for your operator to choose. The next piece of text is going to be for the caller. Now, if you give the caller multiple options, they will randomly select one. So that is a good way of adding variation to your call. But if this is your first call, don't do it and ignore everything I just said about options 2 and options 3. Okay? So after default equals 2, you want to go action on end equals quotation opinion effect equals, and then you want to specify your opinion effect. This is the opinion. This is your opinion if you resolve the issue. So here we want the issue resolved. Now I think this is worthy of maybe about 3 opinion if they resolve the issue correctly. Maybe 4. I'm going to go with 4. Something to bear in mind is that if you resolve it incorrectly and you don't specify otherwise, it will automatically give you an opinion effect of -3 times your opinion effect score. So if I give it opinion effect 4, if you incorrectly resolve it, it will give you an opinion effect of -12, which is quite steep. So I'm actually going to reduce it to 3 so that the opinion effect is only -9. You can specify it differently. Again, not going to cover that right now. If you want to know more, the Google Docs spreadsheet, it tells you a ton of information if you can trawl through it. This one, stick a semicolon because you can have multiple actions on end. You'll also stick end in here, physically end, because action on end of that you want call to end later on. Close it, new line. So we're going to go dialog option, except I just put dialog option, ID equals 2. And the operator, sorry if you can hear voices outside, the operator is going to be the caller. Put a colon again. Texton. So I want them to, what do I want them to say? Police, yes. Please help. That sounds good enough in my fake female voice. Police, yes. Please help. colon, default, right? What do I want it to do? Now, I want to have a default of default equals free. As you can see that I knew it was wrong because the color for free was still red. It should be purple. So I knew it was wrong because of the color. So I could fix it immediately. Now, this one, because it's the cooler, it's the default for after the cooler is free. So this is your option. You will be given option 3. So now I am going to specify a second option. Option 2 equals, and I'm going to specify it as hang up. Which I will create later, but basically that'll just say, this isn't an emergency call, sorry, bye. You don't want to pick that because this is an emergency call, but I'm going to give people the option to be Muppets and lose 9 reputation. There is going to be no opinion effect on end, action on end, opinion effect. You don't need to do that after you've done it the first time. It stores it for the whole conversation. As I said, you can specify it separately, but we're not going to. So we're going to go for dialog option, ID equals free, because that's what I said what the next default one would be. Operator equals operator. Textern equals, okay, ma'am, I need you to try and remain calm. I'm probably going to be reading the operator, so I get to make up my own lines. It's great. If you don't feel comfortable coding this, but you do want to make a script with or without multiple options, send it through to me. I will make it into a call. I'm a bad script writer, okay? You're about to see that. Okay, ma'am, I need you to try and remain calm and tell me why, what exactly has happened. Then I'm going to have default equals 4, 5. You could say 4B. That's probably a neater way of doing things, but I'm going to give it 5. And then that's just it for that line. So, dialog option 4. Who is my perpetrator? My perpetrator is a male. So, specifying caller. Default equals 6. Option. No, just default equals 6. I'm not going to give an option for this one. And then to keep in order, I'm not going to do 6, I'm going to do 5, because I've already said there is a 5. So 5 operator. Now this one, again, because the option has come from an operator's call, I want the new operator to be the caller. So like above, the operator is the caller. This is how you specify the address. So you know how in-game it reads out a random address. This is how you specify it. You put bracket bracket ADDRESS close bracket close bracket. These are square brackets. These are not round brackets and they are not squiggly brackets. They are square brackets. You put 2 either side and you put address in the middle in capitals, and it will fill in a random address in the game that you can then respond to and go to as a call. So a male, maybe in his 20s, he came into our flats at full stop, close. Default equals 7. Okay, so dialog option. I'm going to do 6 because, again, doing them in numerical order. Operator equals, this is going to be our operator this time. So, here we just backtrack, we see where it says default 6, which is this line here, and we reread what's happened. So, there's a man here. He came into the flats, kicked in a door, and I heard a shot. I ran. What will the operator want to establish is my next question. Now, text default equals 8. Enter. So dialog option. Dialog option. There we are. I know what I'm doing. ID equals 7. Operator. I said this would be simple. It looks like there's going to be more in this than one of my previous calls, which was not ever so simple. Operator equals cooler. No, operator equals operator. Sorry, because this one has come from a cooler. Again, that's why you need to check. Operator cooler colon quotation. Texton equals. So we've been given an address, so we can already send emergency vehicles. Bust into my neighbour's apartment. She's only 19. I'm going to give an option 2 after this, because while I have just said that do you know who lives there, I also want to be able to choose an address. So, yeah, sorry about that. That's slight confusion on my part. Right, now, it's a bit of jumping around. You could probably do it in a better system, but I'm a little bit skedaddled here, there, and everywhere. So, we've got 8, and the operator this time is the cooler. I keep forgetting my quotation marks. I am again going to say that option 2, which is going to be my address question, equals 9. Now you can do this because if after number 4 here we'd asked for the address, we would then put in a back command which would send us back to number 4's options. Okay, so then the only option would be default equals 6. So then we would ask, where are you now? Are you safe? The game will only let you choose each option once. So if you have already used 9, I could have 9 as a second option for every single thing on there. But once I've used it once, it will not appear. So it's it's more versatile than you might first think. So that's a really good feature. So now we're going to do number 9, which is dialog option ID equals 9. Now this is what you do here, is you put default equals quotation BACK quotation /done. That should function correctly. Another note relating to the address. Apologies, I didn't spot this earlier. But where you put address, that just fills in the random name. It doesn't actually specify it on the map. So what you need to do is you also need to put where we put action on end, so after your default, we go action on end equals, quotation marks again, as always, and then we put action set location. So action set location. And again, you will just want that equals sign in there, and you can see the code is now fixed. So you want that action set location. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, because I also want that in this one here where I have an address. So I'm just going to put space and paste it in. Okay? So action set location. Now that will go back, which should take me back to here, which means that then the default is 6, so it will take me down to here. Right. Now it goes to 7, so this should be the operator, so I've actually put this in wrong. Make sure you spell it correctly. Okay, ma'am, where are you now? Are you safe? Default equals 10. 10, cooler. So that line of questioning, as far as I'm concerned, it's ended. I'm just actually going to go and just a couple of enters so that I've got some space to work. But I'm going to dialog option ID equals end, operator equals operator. You can end it on the operator or the cooler. For example, the pizza one that I'm sure you're very familiar with, where she is unable to talk, she ends the call. This one, the caller is able to talk, so I'm going to have the operator end it. With a okay. The police and medical services. So this is kind of a hint to the player. You don't need to say that, but it's just how I want to end the call. So this isn't actually designed for the player to help them as such, because they should work out that if someone's been shot and there's a shooter, you need police and medical. The police and medical services are on their way, spelling there correctly with an EI, I believe, are on their way and should be there shortly. And then it ends. So to end the call, we do need to add further text. You're getting quite used to this, aren't you? So we need to do space and then action on end again equals quotation mark action hang up. Okay, equals quotation mark action hang up close quotation mark. Now what you also want to do here is add to AAR equals and then give it an ID. I'm going to call it story A. And then just end that. We will get to what this whole AAR business is in a minute. You can add an AAR to any of these lines. I would recommend maybe a maximum of 5. But it's AAR stands for after action report. So when you finished your shift and you get a screen that comes up listing all of the calls you answered and your reputation from those calls, the lines that are displayed inside that say, for example, the one, my vending machine call, is, I've only got one line because it's quite a short call with not many options. So it's just called story, and it says, the caller was using the emergency line for a vending machine problem. That's it. Short, sweet, a summary of the call. Now this one, I will probably only have one story end, but there are multiple endings, because we've got one where the caller is competent and one where the caller isn't, which I think is quite neat. And I didn't think to do that until a minute ago. So we're going to have action on the end. I'm also going to pop in essentially a placeholder for dialog option ID equals hang up. Operator equals, so this is the one I specified up here. Now, I will probably add hang up to more of the delete action on end equals, so this is just the same as we did before, action hang up quotation marks add to AAR equals, right, so this will be a second after action report line. You can have as many lines as you want in the same report, but you will only have the ones for your lines of questioning. So if, for example, lines 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10 were used, you would have any AARs that are associated with 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10. I think that's the numbers I said. You wouldn't have ones relating to 7, 9, address. Any AARs related to that would not show up. So here, we've got hang up 2, which is going to have an AAR, which I'm going to specify as fail, because quite frankly, you did fail. So if you see that in your AAR, you will not see story A. So you'll only see the ones of the options you've gone through. Okay? So back to here, we've done ID 10. Now, I'm going to be harsh here, like some of the default calls are, and I'm not... If they didn't select address here, or address here, I'm just going to swap those two around so it's the default option, so people are more likely to see it and try and choose it. So if they haven't selected address there or there, they're going to have to wait for the trace to end, because, yes, I think most of us are out. We haven't seen him leave. Please hurry. And I'm just going to end the call here. So you're going to have to wait for a trace. So default equals end2, because I want a different AAR, and if I want a different after action report statement, then you need a different ending. Okay, so that's all of the dialogues done. So I'm going to hit backspace, and I'm going to close this dialogue. Closing it the proper way is like that. As you can see, no, it's not. Wait, what? Have I? I think you can close them either way, okay? So I think so long as you type dialogue within those, you can close them with the dash in front or the dash in behind. And I'm also going to prove that this call does work in a minute, so you'll know anyway. Right, now we've got to the after action report. So start a new set and call it AAR. Okay, nice and simple. And then we have what we call a report element. ID equals. Now, these IDs are the ones you've got here. So you've got story A, you've got fail, and you've got story B. Okay, so I'm going to do fail first, because that's nice and simple. Again, in quotation marks, fail, and then Texton. This is literally just Texton. So, how did they fail? The operator hung up on a genuine emergency. Simple as that. New line, okay? Next report element. ID equals story A. With quotation marks, please, if you don't mind, Sir Horik. Texton equals quotation. The operator ensured the safety of the caller. Once the trace completed. Okay, so that's that. And then do another back, and we'll do /AAR. Right, we're nearly done, but there's something I forgot to do earlier that we need to go back and do. So, because you probably worked out that we now do /conversation, and then we do /conversations /data. Another thing I did forget, though, is that there are reminders. So when you're going through a call and you don't click an option soon enough, someone will kind of go, hello? Are you still there? Or they'll just be silent and it'll be like row ... So how do we add those in, you might ask? Well, you can have up to 2, and I would recommend you have 2, because I don't know if it goes funny if you don't have any or don't have 2. And it's not reminded. You just want another dialogue option. This time ID. Now, these were IDs I would not customize at all. So all the ones above, 1 to 12, with address, with hang up 2, with end, customizable as much as you like. This one, no. So call it reminder, and spell it correctly. Operator, and call it the caller, because it's the caller that's going to be saying it. Texton equals. Now, you could decide if the operator is male or female and go, sir, are you still there? Ma'am? Or something. I don't want to, so I'm going to keep it gender neutral so that it gives me flexibility with voice artists, essentially. Okay, now what you want to do, which you should have done part way as well, is just hit Control-S. That is saved. Okay, beautiful. Right? That is absolutely perfect. Okay, guys, so I think I've found it. A mistake on my part. So what's really confusing it is you're meant to end when you end, you're meant to have a dash in it. So here we've got a dash there, right? Okay. Now the problem is, this line here does not have a dash. So I believe if I add that and click save, it will work. Now this means I'm going to need to re-upload it to the workshop so that it actually works. Continue, start deployment, start duty, title, start call SO03, and by miracle it works.
What's your emergency?
It still has the default audio for the first line, they always do. But this is the call that we made. There you go, I chose the option when we get the address straight away. And it's playing through the options like it should, because that one is a very short way. Right, so what you want to do is you want to go to your library, click play on 911 operator. Now if you want to upload it to the Steam Workshop, you need to have the contributors tag here. Now to get that, right click on your game, go down to properties, pop across to this tab that's called betas, and select contributors, content creators. If you simply want to use custom community made content, then just select testers. However, I'm guessing you kind of want to make it if you watch the tutorial this far. So you just select contributors, click OK, and you're done. I would recommend that you join the 911 contributors group. If you really can't find it, just go to my profile. I believe it's public, so this should be fine for everyone. Scroll down to the groups section, and then scroll down until you find 911 contributors, and join this group. I don't know if you have to join this group, but I think it's a good idea. While I post most of my general ideas, thoughts, comments in the hub, because that's where most people comment, the group would be a great place to search for and get support. I am trying to essentially build a network of people. So if you want to make calls, please tell me you are making calls. I'm not saying, I want to be the publisher, you can't do it without me. But I'm saying, please let me know, because then we can look at getting you voice actors. We can look at getting the scripts put into other languages, translated. We can look at making the content better and available for everybody. And we can do it together. So that's my kind of goal here, right? So you want to hit play, now you've got the contributors version. And you don't want 911 operator, you want launch game editor. So we'll just let that launch. So go to conversation, go to show all. Now, these two here, these are the ones in that custom calls folder you made. So anything in workshop or in base calls, you want to ignore for now. So here is your call, SO03 as we called it at the beginning, gunshot. And just click this nice little button, add to workshop. You can add your own image. I find it easier actually to upload to workshop and then change the image. Yeah. So your item has been uploaded to workshop. I don't know what unset key is. I don't know what that text box is for. I've tried putting things in it. I never see that text ever again. So just ignore that. And now we've got the default image here. I'm going to keep it in file editor in case anything's gone wrong, but it's telling me it's moved. Okay, so now you're wondering, where's it moved to? Well, what we want to do is we want to go back up the folder hierarchy. So we're in our custom calls folder. So go back up to streaming assets, go back up to 911 data, back up to 911 operator, back up to common, back up to Steam apps. Now jump into workshop and then into content. And you probably have a load of stuff here if you've got mods from other games. So the ID you need to know for 911 operator is that it is 503560. So if you can't find it, you've got so many, type in, not 203, type in 503560 up. 560, please, keyboard, up here, and you get to it. Okay? Now, because you've just uploaded it, yours will have the highest number, so it'll be at the bottom of the list. And here's your custom thumbnail. Edit that in any photo editing software you want, and then just go back here and click this Update in Workshop button. It shouldn't still say, please wait. If it does, just close out of it, reboot it, and get to it the same way as... No, it's not the same way as before, so I'll actually close out of it and show you. Okay, so you've got this file here, so you can still edit your call. You can come back to it whenever you like. So that's good. Now, if we just go back to Steam and we relaunch the game editor, I'll just show you where it's moved to, because obviously the folder has moved. It's moved to the workshop files. So what if I delete it here, or I unsubscribe from it on the workshop? If you delete it from here or unsubscribe on the workshop, you can't edit it. However, if you just simply subscribe on the workshop, it re-downloads it, and then you can edit it. So you don't even need to keep all of your mods local. Once you've made them, if you don't want to edit them, you just delete them, unsubscribe from them on the workshop. If anyone asks for an edit or anything, you then just re-download it. It's going to be like less than a megabyte or something ridiculous. See, how much is this one? All of that together. 57.3 KB. Yeah, it's tiny. Even with audio, it's still quite small. So you just re-download it from the workshop and you can edit it again within this workshop folder. Now, I launched the game rather than the editor. That was my mistake. So you want the editor. Made with Unity. Amazing. Love Unity, clearly. Right, conversation. You want to go to show all again. And you can see only the seizure one is here, not SO03. So this is what this workshop calls is. It's all the ones you've got downloaded. So I can open Drunk, which is not mine. It's one of Jutsu Games' ones. And it gives you an update in workshop button. But of course, you're not the creator, so that did absolutely nothing. It just says it exactly the same. But here, this scene, these are... so this is where we put injuried, criminal, witness at the top. This is what we've got here. We've got injuried and suspect in this case. So it would appear you can give them more than just the names. I thought you could, but that's the case. And they're specifying the HP here, as you can see. You can even specify age, as well as their sex, their gender. And then AAR, these are all the AARs possible. I physically can't edit this one, but I think that's just simply because it's not my call. It doesn't matter. If you want to make it your call, you just jump back to here. You copy the contents of, say, 252, which is one of Linus's ones, and then you make a new folder in the same way we did at the beginning. However, please don't do this for community-made content unless the creator has said that you can, because it would be much better just to get the creator to update their content so it is one piece, one asset, rather than have multiple assets. Multiple assets is just a pain in the arse, to be quite frank with you. So where's my call? Okay, so I'm looking for SO03. Right, so it's right down the bottom here, because I think it goes by the workshop file name. So much like in the folder, it's the most recent one, so it's at the bottom. Again, it's the most recent one, most recent name, it's at the bottom. Now this is mine. This one, I don't think I can actually edit here. But for example, say I changed the workshop image, and then I click update in workshop. It will update it in the workshop. There is one problem with this, is that it resets the name and the description. So if you're going to update it in the workshop, copy and paste your custom description, otherwise it will just come out as cool description or something very bland and irritating. Okay, so now we'll go and look at it in the workshop. There's my vending machine one. So I'm just going to go to 911 Operators Community Hub, which you can find, as I showed earlier. It's not that hard to find, you'll work it out. And select the Workshop tab. Now here you can see my previous calls. Those two are mine. For some reason they're on the first page, which is nice. And Gun Accident. That's not the one I just made. I made Gunshot. Okay, I'm not finding it. I think this is because it takes the workshop a little bit of time from you first putting it up to it being there. So if I search Gunshot, I don't think I'll find anything. No. Now, it does update, I think it takes like 20 minutes or something, but I should be able to find it if I go into Soharik's workshop. And bam, there it is, okay? So it's given it a null name, which is quite boring, so we're going to edit that. We're going to go reported gunshots. Report of gunshots. Just a simple description. What I'm actually also going to do is just pop over here, and I'm going to blur out all of that stuff. Again, go over to the hub, whatever you want to call it, the workshop, that's the one. I'm just going to go here, and copy and paste some of this stuff, because, yeah, I don't know. Languages, only English at the moment, and paste that in. Okay, so that is now officially on the workshop and other people are able to download it. As much as you can enjoy this, I hope you did. I hope it really helped you and that you are now able to make calls in-game. As I said earlier at the beginning, and in the middle and everywhere, I want this to be a community effort. So if you make calls, please tell me, and then we can make a group of us together where we can voice over them, we can translate them for other languages. We can just make this really good community content for this game. Yeah, so I hope that you can now. You've got a basis of how to make calls. Again, if you don't feel that you can do this, you don't understand the code, that's fine. As you can see, I was making mistakes all over the place. If you need code troubleshooting, send it to me, I'll try and do it. As in, I will do it, but if I can't see it, I can't troubleshoot it. So, I'm only as good as I am. If you make a script but you don't know how to code it, again, please send it because I can code it for you. And as a joint effort, we can make more content, and it will be great. So, I guess now's the outro thing where it's like, I think it goes something like this. If you didn't like it, there's a dislike button for a reason. If you did like it, there's a like button. So please hit that and the subscribe button. And go subscribe to all the content on Steam so that you get extra calls. Because why would you not want more variety? Come on! Ace! Thanks for watching.